Of course, the most obvious choice for a cheap and cool winter beater is the Subaru Impreza or WRX. I mean, they are well known to be screaming 4-banger rally cars, so they can be a lot of fun in the winter as they are all-wheel drive and have great ground clearance. And you can bring all of your friends along in them or transport a bunch of stuff, as they come as sedans, wagons and hatchbacks, so they are super versatile and practical. The flat 4 engines also are decently reliable, and though the turbocharged ones have more issues, that's sometimes just as related to reckless owners that treated their shitboxes like one. The engines are between 1.2 to 2.5 liters large and have about 90 to 265 horsepower. This is a pretty broad range, but it also includes diesel engines, like for most cars on this list. And their gas mileage is also pretty good, especially on the less powerful ones. Anyways, the power just matters depending if you want to drive normally or push your car a bit harder. Also dependent on your preference and driving style are the transmission options, but they are also different with the generations. So you can get 5 or 6 speed manuals as well as 4 and 5 speed automatics. And overall, these cars are decently comfortable and well built, so you can rarely go wrong with an Impreza. They also have an incredibly large aftermarket, so you can completely build them to your needs. But after doing that, you're probably gonna want to keep them for longer than just the winter. So if you now want one, they start at about 2 to 4k with sometimes higher mileage or questionable condition, though there are some really good ones. So if you want a nicer one or the more powerful WRX, they cost more like 5 or 6k. And for those of you who want pretty much the same capability but in a much more luxurious package, there is the Audi A4. They are either front wheel drive, which actually isn't bad for the snow like at all, or they have the also famous quattro all-wheel drive system, which just like the Impreza comes out of the rally world. They also have quite a bit of space as they come as sedans and wagons, and I just think they look great. Also on the comfortable inside, the build quality is very nice, so they also are a great car to wait in winter traffic jams. But once you get moving again, you can take off pretty quickly, depending on the engine you chose. But there are a lot of them, again depending on the generation. There are 1.6 to 2 liter inline 4s with 75 to 222 horsepower. Then there are 2.4 to 3.2 liter V6s with 150 to 324 horsepower. And then the 4.2 liter V8s with 344 to 444 horsepower. Some have turbo, some are diesels. There are just so many options. So basically, some are very fast and some are super economical. That's why you should do a little research yourself to take the one you need. With these engines can also come higher maintenance costs, mainly with the big ones, though the diesels are pretty solid in general. But Audi maintenance can still be more expensive, especially in the USA. So some owners basically don't do it there, but they generally are reliable. I mean, here in Germany, they are used as nice daily drivers by a lot of people. And you can already get them for like 2 or 3k too. But be careful with waiting maintenance at those prices. And even if you want higher spec ones, or even an S4, expect to pay about 4 to 7k. So overall, they are a super cool mix of good looks, performance and practicality. And if you want everything out of the A4, apart from reliability and a bit of performance, take a look at some Land Rover Discoveries or Range Rovers. Because as nice and beautiful as they are known to be maintenance nightmares. Discoveries not that much, as they are also still being used as work and farm vehicles, but they can still get pretty expensive. And honestly, these cars are awesome for the winter. They are built to be very off-road and snow capable, and therefore have things like 4-wheel drive with locking diffs and an incredible suspension system. The air ride is also super comfortable and get you a shitload of ground clearance. And it also works pretty quickly when it's not broken. So combining that with the super comfortable and spacious interiors, you'll feel like a king looking down on peasants sitting 6 feet below you, while you chill in traffic on a cold day. Basically, they are a really nice place to be in, but also a pretty cool box to move in. And you can bring all of your family as well as half a living room with you in them, and the engines won't bother. But to make it very clear, it's not like they are fast or something, they are just quicker than you would expect actually, and they can tow quite a bit. So you can choose between 2.5 liter inline 5s, putting out roughly 130 horsepower, then there are 2.7 to 4 liter V6s with 150 to 250 horsepower, and then 3.5 to 5 liter V8s with 130-ish to 370 horsepower. These engines have so much variety in them because the earliest ones are from like 1969. There are diesel and gas options, and you can get them with 5 or 6 speed manual transmissions or 4, 6 and 8 speed automatics. And with most of them, the gas mileage is okay, but it's not great in any of them. You can find these cars damn cheap, and they pretty often are well-maintained examples among the cheapest ones, but some still are barely alive. So when looking at them, Range Rover start about 3 to 5k and Discoveries for like 5 to 7k. So if you want one and are prepared for some possible maintenance builds, I'd say go for it. I mean, it still is your decision if you think they are worth it. But let's now get to the complete opposite of these big and heavy SUVs. And that is the Mitsubishi Eclipse, a super fun lightweight sports car. So hear me out, don't just skip this part. They are front wheel drive, but they handle great and get a good amount of traction. That's why they are pretty capable, even on snow or slush. And they are a perfect joyride beater for a lot of us car guys. I originally wanted to mention the all-wheel drive GSX model, but I just realized they cost about 18 grand, if you can actually even find one. The Eclipse is of course a sports car and therefore a bit more focused on performance. So they have 1.8 to 2.4 liter turbocharged inline force, putting out 111 to 210 horsepower, or 3 to 3.8 liter V6s with 200 to 263 horsepower. And most of them are married to 5 or 6 speed manual transmission, though some still have 4, 5 and 6 speed automatics. So the driving experience is super engaging and pretty accurate, though it's not the softest, because they are sports cars. They also go really well around corners and you can really drive them a bit harder. And of course go the speed limit, you know? You also get a lot of feedback inside of these cars, because they are so sporty. So the ride is a bit harder and the interior is super simple and driver focused, which really makes them way more special to drive. That's also why they are the least practical car on this list, by far. But I mean, it's about priorities. So if you want one, be prepared to have about 3 or 4k ready to buy one, and maybe some more on repairs, because they can be very reliable, with basic maintenance of course, but for some reason, quite a few of them didn't get the love they deserved. So I want to get your opinion on an Eclipse. Would you take one as a fun car for the winter, or rather something else? Just comment your answer down below. So if you feel like the Eclipse is maybe a bit too much for you, but you still want something cool, you should have a look at an Audi A3. Yeah, I know, another Audi. Cry about it, it's not gonna be the last one on this list. And it really is a great car. The Audi A3 is technologically pretty similar to the A4 you just heard about, so they also are either front wheel drive, which is perfectly fine for light cars in the winter, or they have quattro all-wheel drive, which obviously is the nicer and more fun option. But they just handle great overall. So combining great drivability with decently powerful engines, they can be so much fun, as you can find them with 1.2 to 2 liter inline force, running on either gas or diesel, putting out 90 to 200 horsepower, and in the S3 even 260. And because quite a few of them have turbos, there is a lot of potential to modify them. But they also have a 3.2 liter VR6 option with 247 horsepower. That's a lot for such a small car. And they also come with 5 or 6 speed manual transmissions or 4 and 5 speed automatics. But you can even get a 7 or 6 speed DSG transmission, so you get pedal shifters. And overall, these cars are pretty cool daily drivers, and because they come as 2 and 4 doors, they can be very practical. They also are way more comfortable than you would maybe expect, and have really nice quality, are economical, and just look great in and outside. So they are super underrated little cars that you can drive all year around, because they're just so capable. You can pick them up for like 2 to 5k, but even an S3 goes for less than 5k. At least in Germany, because the old ones are not even available in the US. I'm honestly sorry guys. But by the way, would you agree that older ones actually look pretty similar to older Civics? Or am I tripping here? Anyways, just like the A4, they generally are very reliable, but it's still an Audi, so if stuff breaks, it's a little bit more expensive, especially in America. So if you want a nice hatchback like the A3, but with generally lower maintenance costs, the Mazda 3 might be a good option for you. Because even though they aren't the most reliable Mazdas out there, they still are reliable, and also parts and maintenance are dirt cheap and available pretty much anywhere. So with great gas mileage, they are cheap as fuck to own. They also are praised for drivability and handling, even though they aren't the fastest cars or something. They also only are front wheel drive, but they still are super fun to drive. And because you guys are looking for winter cars, you should know that they just do awesome with winter tires on, so the snow isn't a problem for them. Yeah, all-wheel drive is still a bit better, but the Mazda 3 goes strong anyways. You can also take quite a bit of people and stuff with you on them, because they aren't that small actually. Also, you and your groceries can relax inside of them, as the inside is pretty comfortable and looks quite nice too. Mazda build quality is also very good, as they somehow make super solid cars. That quality also goes for the engines, and they keep them really simple in them with a range of inline fours. So they have about 1.4 to 2.5 liters of displacement with about 85 to 168 horsepower. And just the 1.6 liter also comes as a turbo diesel, and the rest is naturally aspirated. In the more expensive Mazdaspeed free version, the 2.3 liter puts out about 263 horsepower, which makes them a lot of fun, but they of course are more expensive. So then, depending if you want even more fun in these cars or an extra bit of comfort, you can choose between 5 and 6 speed manuals or 4, 5 and 6 speed automatic transmissions. Prices already start at about 2 to 3k, and for the more powerful Mazdaspeed 3, they start between 5 and 7k, so not bad at all. So they overall are great cheap cars and do fine in the winter. But if you live in an area with really a lot of snow, a Volvo S60 maybe is a better option for you, because they are built to be great in snow and other winter conditions. I mean, Volvo is based in Sweden, and it's cold as shit up there. So the S60 is either front wheel drive or all wheel drive, but both of them go through pretty much anything, even though they are a bit heavier. Because they are sedans, there's quite a bit of space inside of them, and they are super cozy. Volvo generally builds great cars that are very comfortable and of great quality, so they are awesome to bring along your friends on trips and stuff like that. They also are one of the more luxurious options on this list, which makes them great for longer drives and of course to wait in winter's traffic jams. But even though they are already great, the engines make them even better. So you can get an S60 with 2 liter inline 4s, putting out 180 horsepower, or 2 to 2.5 liter inline 5s with 136 to 250 horsepower. But there also are 3 liter inline 6s with 300 to 345 horsepower, and all of them are turbocharged. You also have the option between gas and diesel ones, and they all are fairly reliable and pretty average on maintenance and fuel economy. So you can't really complain about costs with them. Then you can combine them with 5 or 6 speed manual transmissions or 5, 6 and 8 speed automatics. And they overall just are great cars in pretty much every way, and obviously a solid choice for a winter car. They also are already available for about 3 to 4k. So if you like this video so far and maybe want to know when I post my next video about cheap cars, why not consider subscribing? And if you have any questions or want to see a video on a specific car or topic, just comment down below. But enough of this now. As you might have noticed in the background, the next car is the BMW 3 Series. Because they also have all-wheel drive versions that then have an X in the model name. So for example, the 330xi. Normally it's 330i. I mean, you could try and drive a rear-wheel drive one in the winter, but it really takes a lot of skill to not crash and die, because they have quite a bit of power. Only the E46 and E90 actually offer all-wheel drive without being too expensive. So they start at about 3 to 4k, and the engine options are also limited. But luckily, you only get the 2.5 and 3 liter inline 6s out of the 325 and the 330s, which are super reliable actually, and have between 181 to 268 horsepower. So you can drive these cars like the sporty cruisers they were made to be, or just beat the living shit out of them. You can then get them with 5 or 6 speed manuals instead of 4, 5 and 6 speed automatics to make the already fun drive a lot more engaging. And you can yet again take a few people with you, as they come as sedans and wagons, but the E90 can also have all-wheel drive as the coupe version. But the best thing about them is not that they have nice and comfortable interiors, which make them a cool place to be in. No, it's that the all-wheel drive ones are less shit on by dumbass idiots who rip their car around every single corner and then are surprised that the unserviced cars have expensive repairs. Because those take the rear-wheel drive ones. The all-wheel drive ones are rather driven by more responsible people, like some cool dads or something, that seriously look after their cars. So you can pick one up without immediately expecting it to be in bad condition. But to wrap up this list with one more car, yep, another Audi. And this time it's the A6, so the bigger brother of the A4. And apart from the fact that the early A6s look worse than the A4s of their time and deserve to be beat up for that, they are pretty similar. They just are more luxurious and comfortable and also ride smoother while using a few bigger engines. So there are 1.9 to 2 liter inline 4s putting out 109 to 248 horsepower. Then there are 2.4 to 3.2 liter V6s with 161 to 296 horsepower. And then the 4.2 liter V8s with 330 to 345 horsepower. So there really are a lot of options, with gas and diesel ones all over the place. And you can match them with 5 or 6 speed manual transmissions, as well as 4, 5 and 6 speed automatics. They again are overall very reliable, but they need a bit more fuel, and if something breaks, it's rather expensive as they were pretty expensive cars when they were new, but now you can already get them for 3 to 5k. They of course come as front wheel drive or yet again with quattro all wheel drive, so they can get you and your relaxed passengers through the winter in comfort and luxury, as well as all the stuff you need, because they not only come as sedans, but also as wagons. They also drive and handle great, so even though they aren't really exciting, they are perfect for longer drives and have no problem with bad roads. But these cars can still get you going if you want to, because they can have quite a bit of power. And the last thing I want to tell you now is that even if you can't buy a new car, it is definitely worth getting some quality winter tires, because those just make such a big difference for a car already. So even if you have all-wheel drive, summer tires can still make you struggle in the snow. So please like this video if you enjoyed it, and maybe I'll see you again in this video right here.